Social media, which I'm not going to sit down and break down the definition of for like half an hour like Pyrocynical would, because I'm not going to disrespect your intelligence like that, has enabled the instant global transmission and sharing of information, which has without a doubt had an irreversible impact on society as a whole. But what is the true nature of that impact? Is it good, is it bad, or some mix of both? That is what I'm going to try and answer today, dear viewer. How so? By going over the pros and cons of various websites, and concluding based on the kind of impact they have. To start this off, we'll begin with the website you're most likely watching this on, that being YouTube, which needs no introduction. It's the largest video sharing platform on earth, home to countless users. Regarding the good of YouTube, you can find anything: documentaries, cooking instructions, DIY tutorials, funny videos, life advice, stuff to help you relax, music, pretty much anything. Joining YouTube is totally free. You can make an audience by doing basically anything you enjoy as long as it's interesting in some capacity. And if making videos is a passion of yours, you can legitimately make money off YouTube once your channel gets big enough. All of which are extremely positive. You have a useful website you could possibly earn money from if you enjoy making videos. But like every coin, there is another side. As I said, you can find anything on YouTube, for better or for worse. But in this case, you can very easily, without any effort, accidentally come across some particularly very icky NSFW content on the platform by pure bad luck alone. As to why that happens, it's for a few reasons. First, it's because YouTube's automatic moderation, while it's really good at finding copyrighted material to a level that's actually quite impressive, it's significantly lacking in all other aspects. And secondly, the algorithm that recommends content seems to be getting increasingly unstable as years pass, which would explain the recent issue of weirdly underviewed channels that have no relation to anything you watch, with barely any views somehow getting recommended to everyone, among other anomalies in its behaviour. Which, considering the size of YouTube, 1 hour of video being uploaded to YouTube every second, 60 hours of video being uploaded every minute, this means it would be ridiculously difficult to fully moderate YouTube, if not outright impossible, even with Google's ownership of the platform and given funding. And regarding the logistics of why it's basically impossible, firstly, even the best AI we have today would struggle to do the job efficiently. AI still has a long way to go before it's even remotely good enough for a task this big. Said AI would also require an insane amount of computing power and energy to run 24/7, which would all be extremely expensive to run in the long term, especially on a scale for something as big as YouTube. And secondly, doing it with human staff would also be impossible. They're gonna need breaks, they're gonna need pay, and all the other legal stuff that is necessary when you're hiring an employee, like sick days, maternal or paternal leave, insurance and injury compensation. There's a lot of stuff they need to take into account, and if you scale that up to the fact they're gonna need easily hundreds of thousands of staff to pull this off, who would have to likely operate in shifts because it would be a 24/7 job, it would be a logistical nightmare to operate, and it's just not really feasible. And while you could combine human and AI, I'm gonna be honest, that's also not particularly workable, because then you've got the flaws of both at the same time. But anyway, there is one thing they could definitely do, and that being to update the ancient recommendation algorithm, which seems to have a mind of its own at this point. And we know it's very much possible because YouTube and Google have done it before. But in spite of all of that, while these reasons do not remotely justify their shortcomings, it gives us an understanding of just how much would be necessary to even begin dealing with these issues in a meaningful way. And on a related note, at the time of writing the script for this section of video, the 23rd of June 2024, a week ago, I stumbled across and reported 20 particularly stinky NSFW comic dub videos and a few channels as they violate the community guidelines. But unfortunately, nothing has been done about them, even when YouTube was given a week to do something, which is probably due to the flaccid moderation systems being either inept or exceedingly slow. And in relation to this, YouTube has a well-known issue with bot accounts covered by many YouTubers already, which churn out trend slop aimed at younglings, said slop often having NSFW fetish content, which can cause the aforementioned young audience to develop sick fetishes later in life, which has been well documented in clinical studies and already proven. These AI slop channels also earning very large amounts of money, often by abusing the very broken recommendations algorithm, which, if you want to make money on YouTube, you need to be extremely careful with what you say or make if you want to earn money on YouTube, as the system that approves videos for monetization is very twitchy. For context and as an example, I have to refer to human offspring as younglings if I want this video to be seen at all, as the monetization system and recommendation algorithm are closely connected intentionally. As to why that angers the algorithm, I am unsure. Like two channels I watch, Salmonella Academy and Roanoke Gaming, They cannot say what human offspring are called. In fact, Sam O'Neill's channel got completely demonetized and he had to fight to get it back. Literally all just because he used the word in his intro. But regardless, back on topic, the reason these two algorithms are connected is because YouTube naturally wants to push videos they know can earn them advertiser money and are advertiser friendly. This quirk of the algorithm being what those previously mentioned AI farm slop channels usually exploit to grow larger. Then again, there's the chance I may be wrong in that, as the algorithm has basically become an eldritch being and is nigh incomprehensible in its reasoning the majority of the time. Like at that time, every video started becoming like MrBeast's content. The algorithm picking him up for some reason, and everyone copied him to try and mimic his success, which caused a massive surge in MrBeast copies. But regardless, the aforementioned very stinky NSFW channels and the slop aimed at younglings are overall, considering the size of YouTube, a very small minority of content, and they don't reflect YouTube as a whole. And while the existence of this content at all is shameful for YouTube, at the end of the day there is realistically only so much that can be done to mitigate that kind of content that abuses the algorithm while not hurting human creators. So while YouTube has its blatant flaws, and you should ideally be a responsible parent and check in on what your younglings are watching, overall I would say YouTube as a website is decently good, around a 7 out of 10. It serves its purpose, albeit it could be much better. And with that, now to go over the next website, Twitter, which has changed a lot since Elon purchased it. Pre-Elon, I never really used Twitter, but I would rate Twitter back then a 0 out of 10, due to the massive left-wing political control over the website, and the fact it was well known to be infested with absolute freaks. But after Elon purchased it, he cracked down on the freaks using it, fired the excess number of employees, and ramped up security and moderation, causing a lot of the remaining freaks to fuck off to wherever else, and he brought back free speech, raising the website to a solid 5 out of 10. Overall, the site now is somewhat decent, better than it was before. There are some really good, talented, wholesome artists and users on there too, which is nice. One I follow is named Diva, she makes really wholesome artwork, I'll link her in the description. And a lot of really good content creators I watch use it pretty much just to alert their fans when they upload. Albeit it's far from perfect, it really needs more moderation and has other issues I'll now get into. Those being, firstly, much like YouTube, it's way too easy to stumble into rancid NSFW content without any real effort. Like, you just have to be unlucky when clicking on something that's trending and it'll just be out in the open. I reported 30 rancid NSFW accounts and only 6 got taken down in about 3 days, which, while better than YouTube, is still not good enough. Second being the obvious presence of bot accounts and scammers, most of which all look the same and are easily spotted. Third being you have to pay for Twitter Blue now, which is silly. Fourthly, Twitter's timeline is also somewhat unstable and occasionally recommends weird shit out of nowhere. And fifthly, renaming Twitter to X was a terrible idea, no one's going to take that seriously. If you call Twitter X, you're a massive nerd. So overall, I rate Twitter now, as of 24/6/24, the day after the previous section I wrote, a 5 out of 10, it really needs more moderation. And the most I do of it now is either retweeting things that are absolutely based, posting my own content, or just outright shitposting because it's funny. And with Twitter done, now to cover Reddit. Which, you know what, I'm not even going to cover it in this video, as me and my buddy Factualhat have already done an hour-long video on this absolute shit heap you call the website, which I'm going to link in the description. I give Reddit a solid 0 out of 10 for reasons apparent in the video. Just absolutely fuck Reddit, we're moving on to the next one. That being Steam, which is owned by Valve, which functions as several things, and has an online store where you can purchase games, software, etc., all of which can be easily accessed by a built-in library feature, the store also letting you purchase games and things as gifts for people on your friends list, a basic social media platform allowing you to upload artwork, videos, guides, game screenshots, workshop content, and reviews all for your followers to see, a game/software review site carried out by the Steam Curator feature, a way to meet people who have similar interests via Steam groups, a market where users can buy and trade virtual items on a digital stock market, which is a possible way to make money, an activity feed, friends list and group chat system, discussion boards for whatever game or software it's related to, and much more. Steam also does not have the same NSFW issue as YouTube and Twitter. You don't just stumble into NSFW by sheer bad luck, unless the game or media you're engaging with has a community known for NSFW content, or you just run into a bad profile. and you can adjust your settings to blur and hide this content if you so wish. And Steam moderation, from my experience, is quite strong where it counts. You don't really hear anything about groups of freaks on Steam as Valve cracks down on them with the utmost relentlessness. Based. And you get pretty good free speech on Steam, moderators only really cracking down on things that are obviously illegal, spam or unrelated, but you get the idea. Negatives wise, however, reported profiles or content on Steam can take a while to be processed and sometimes go ignored entirely, albeit this depends on the severity of the report. Steam's Steam support is notoriously slow and not particularly good, also lacking avenues to report very specific issues. And for me at least, uploading videos to Steam necessitates logging into Steam on a browser, as the Steam client itself has an outdated version of Google Chrome baked in. But despite those issues, Steam is otherwise really good, a solid 9 out of 10. Next up, we have Discord, which will be a quick one. Overall, it's pretty good for keeping contact with your friends, and if you are a content creator, having a server to notify your fans when you upload is pretty good. And it's a great way to communicate directly with fans, getting fan art, setting up events and notifications for future videos. And there is pretty much a Discord server for anything, and many bots you can add to your Discord server for all sorts of fun features. But on the flip side, Discord has a really bad reputation for being home to sick degenerates and scammers, which is because of two things. Discord's method of punishing those aforementioned sick fucks and scammers being entirely flaccid and having no real weight as they can just come back with an alt account. The app is infested with dumb younglings due to Discord being way too easy to access and many parents these days just not supervising what their offspring are doing. Which means if you run a server, it's best you set up a good moderation team, as Discord sucks at moderating their own platform. And Discord also records everything you say, do and post, and they sell that information to other websites, which to be honest every big website already does, so it's not much of a surprise. If anything, it's expected, but it's still quite bad. So overall, Discord, while it has massive security issues, these can be mitigated quite well by having proper moderation in your server, and adjusting your profile settings allows you to minimize how much data Discord gets about you. So overall, I rate Discord a 3.5 or a 4 out of 10. Could be a lot better, but it's nowhere near as bad as Reddit, which is a literal hellscape of degeneracy. And lastly, now for a quick fire round where I rapidly go over websites I know about, albeit I don't use. Facebook, good for keeping in contact with people from that era of the internet, albeit it sucks and it's filled with schizophrenics and scammers, 4 out of 10. Instagram, good for self-promotion and sharing videos and photos, but there's not much else, so 5 out of 10. TikTok, good for memes and shitposting, but the Chinese government farms data off it and it's like actually just straight up Chinese government spyware, so it's a 2 out of 10. Snapchat, basically Instagram, albeit with more communication options, 5 out of 10. Telegram, really good for privacy, albeit it's absolutely infested with degenerates, political extremists and scammers, so 2 out of 10. 4chan, literally the wild west of the internet, anything goes, good or bad, some parts are best avoided if you don't want to see putrid NSFW, if you want green text, you're better off getting them from somewhere else like r/greentext, iFunny, Discord, anywhere else basically, overall 6 out of 10. Pinterest, primarily used to share visual inspiration, home decor, recipes, DIY tips, etc. and you can sell stuff on it, so 7 out of 10. And lastly, Tumblr. It was created mainly for photo blogs, artist portfolios and similar blogs, albeit it just ended up being mostly NSFW and left-wing lunatics until NSFW was banned from the site, which killed most interest in it, so 4 out of 10. And with that concluded, now to summarize the results and deliver the final verdict. YouTube 7 out of 10, Twitter 5 out of 10, Reddit 0 out of 10, which I'm disqualifying from the score calculations as it's so bad it does not even deserve to be considered part of social media as a whole. Steam 9 out of 10, Facebook 4 out of 10, Instagram 5 out of 10, TikTok 2 out of 10, Snapchat 5 out of 10, Telegram 2 out of 10, 4chan 6 out of 10, Pinterest 7 out of 10, and Tumblr 4 out of 10. Now, averaging all of these ratio scores using an online calculator in batches, YouTube to Instagram excluding Reddit gives us 0.6 out of 1, which is 6 out of 10. TikTok to 4chan gives us 0.375 out of 1, which is 3.75 out of 10, and the last two gives us 0.55 out of 1, which is 5.5 out of 10. Putting all three of those together, we get 0.46 out of 1, which is 4.6 out of 10, which basically means if we rate all the main, fairly well-known social medias on a scale of 1 to 10, we get 4.6 out of 10, everything is just below mid on average if we run on raw data. Then again, this is coming from my perspective and raw maths, which is not really an accurate way to gauge something of this scale, especially if we consider the fact that we humans have a natural negativity bias, which is documented to be around 2 times more powerful than positivity, because the pain of losing is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. So to account for natural human negativity bias, I'm going to round the score up to 5, and just remind you of all the good social media is capable of doing. It's a way to find tutorials that can give legitimately helpful information, funny videos to cheer up someone who is unhappy, resources and coping mechanisms for those who are really struggling. It has people who actively go out of their way to do good things for others, like Mr. Beast. And a personal example of me trying to do stuff like that is the anti-suicide posters that I created and posted on my community tab and asked people to share out. Anyway, websites and YouTube channels that specialize entirely in wholesome and good news, educational resources for literally anything, and overall there's a lot of really nice stuff we often forget is out there and is very easy to find. So to factor out the natural negativity bias, I'll split the other 5 in half to account for the doubling and add 2.5 to the positive 5 out of 10. Giving us a reasonable 7.5 out of 10 for social media in general, which to me at least feels like it makes more sense. Then again, all of this is my opinion, albeit based off objective facts, and not all websites are made equal. This 7.5 out of 10 really just exists as a form of average, so take that with however many grains of salt you want. But overall, in conclusion, social media as a whole can be a powerful tool for good and has the means to do so, albeit most of it still has lots of room for improvement. Regarding advice I can give you for it, firstly, keep your younglings off the internet, or at minimum monitor what they are doing and who they talk to about what. Secondly, if you see something vile, do report it. And thirdly, if you ever feel like the internet is a shitty place, I advise you either take a break or look at something more positive. Because remember this, as the Gospel of the Scarlet Queen says, be not blinded by the darkness of sadness, nor suffocated by the inky tides of misery. For beyond the blackest clouds and after the starless moonless nights, beyond the blackest angriest seas, lays the sun ready to shine down upon you, to warm you with its radiant embrace. Passage 129, Blinded by Darkness. This basically means even the worst times will come to pass and there will be better days ahead, which I feel like a lot of people need to hear these days. Speaking of which, the Gospel of the Scarlet Queen will be linked in the description too, along with my Discord, the passages with advice in the Gospel starting at page 97 onwards. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. As a wise, drunk Scottish fellow I watch regularly says, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.